This is where we talk real, no filters, no cap. Straight to the top and we never look back. This is where we talk real, no filters, no cap. Straight to the top and we never look back. Leaders in the building, money on the mind. Leveling up daily, leaving limits behind. Pull up, tune in, it's time to get it done. The Millionaire Nurse Podcast has officially begun. Let's go. Tune in every week.
The nurses who win are moving. The ones still thinking about it are still broke. Right now today, while you are thinking about starting your business, someone else has already started it. While you are redesigning your logo for the third time, somebody else booked a client. While you are rewriting your website bio again, somebody else sent a proposal. While you are waiting until your LinkedIn is ready, somebody else got paid. While you are researching the best platform to host your course, somebody else launched hers on whatever platform was free. While you are in your head asking, but what if it doesn't work? Someone else found out whether it works or not. And here's what gets me. The nurses who are moving, the ones closing contracts, filling programs, building real income, they are not smarter than you. They don't have more credentials. In a lot of cases, they have fewer. They have one thing that is making all the difference. They decided to go. The chronic condition of over-preparing, over-planning, and under-executing, that kills nurses' businesses before they ever launch, disguised as professionalism. I call what you have slow money disease, and it is an epidemic in this community. Slow money disease is not laziness. It's not lack of ambition. Slow money disease is the very trait that made you an excellent nurse, your precision, your thoughtfulness, your instinct to get it completely right before you act, weaponized against your own income. But here's the truth about slow money disease that most people won't say out loud. It's not protecting you. It is costing you. Every day you wait is a day somebody else serves the client that was meant for you. The truth is, in healthcare, the most dangerous thing you can do is to move too fast. In business, the most dangerous thing that you can do is stand still. Today, I'm going to teach you why speed wins. Not recklessness, not sloppiness, speed. And I'm going to give you a complete framework for how to move even when you don't feel ready, even when it's not perfect, even when the voice in your head is building a very convincing case for why you should wait. I'm Dr. V, CEO of VP Nursing, certified speaker and coach, award-winning author, and the host of the Millionaire Nurse CEO podcast, who has helped nurses build 6- and 7-figure business. On this podcast, we help nurse leaders and experts unleash income, working from anywhere, building profitable nurse coaching, consulting, and service-based businesses. And hey, if this is landing for you, go ahead and like this episode. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop me a comment. Tell me how long you have been getting ready to start or grow your business. How many months, honestly? Put the number in the comments because the answer might surprise you when you see it in writing. I read every single one. Now, I know what you are thinking. Dr. V, I'm not slow. I'm being strategic. I'm being thorough. I don't want to put something out there that isn't ready. I've said that word for word. I have been there tweaking a website, and I had no business tweaking for 2 weeks instead of sending a single email to a potential client. Turns out what I call being strategic was being afraid. I just had a fancier word for it. And a fancier word doesn't change the bank account. Here's the thing about nurses. We are trained in clinical environments where moving too fast without the right information can harm our patient. That caution is appropriate at the bedside. In clinical practice, measure twice before you act. That is the standard, and that is the right standard. But the business world operates on a different physics entirely. In business, the markets reward the person who moves, tests, and adjusts, not the person who waits until she is certain. Certainty in business comes after action, not before. Let me say that again because I need you to hear it. Certainty in business comes after action, not before. And so today, I'm going to give you the speed framework. 5 moves that are going to get you from where you are right now, sitting on your expertise, sitting on your idea, sitting on your offer, to actually executing it before you talk yourself out of it again. But first, I need to correct the definition of speed because most nurses hear speed and think reckless, think sloppiness, think careless. And that misunderstanding is exactly what keeps them in the thinking trap. Let me show you what speed actually is and what it is not. Here's the deal. When I say speed wins, I'm not talking about shipping something you're not proud of. I'm not talking about sending a half-finished proposal or launching an unfinished program. I'm not talking about being reckless with your brand or your clients. What I mean by speed is the first rep. Getting the first version of anything you offer, your content, your proposal, your discovery call, your program actually done it, actually in the world. Because the first rep is where all the learning lives. You know what a nurse learns in nursing school? The textbook version of a skill. You learn the steps, you learn the theory, you learn the correct anatomical landmarks, but you don't actually learn how to start an IV until you start an IV on a real patient with real veins the first time. That first rep, even if it isn't perfect, teaches you more than 100 hours of studying the technique. Business works exactly the same way. You do not learn how to sell your coaching program by thinking about it. You learn by having the conversation. You do not learn what price the market will pay you by researching comparable programs for 6 months. You learn by quoting the price and watching what happens. The first rep gives you data. Waiting gives you nothing. Actually, waiting does give you something. It gives you more anxiety, more doubt, more time for the inner critic to build a detailed, well-researched case for why you're not ready. That is what waiting produces. I want to name something else before we go into the framework. I call it the perfectionism tax. And this tax is invisible, which is why most nurses don't even realize they're paying it. The perfectionism tax is the cost of waiting. It is the client who found another solution while you were polishing your offer. It is the speaking gig that went to another nurse who submitted the application while you were working on your bio. It is the corporate contract that was awarded to a consultant who responded first while you were deliberating over the proposal. The perfectionism tax is not paid in one lump sum. It is paid in daily installments of missed opportunity, and it compounds. Over a year of slow money disease, the perfectionism tax can represent tens of thousands of dollars in lost revenue that you will never see because you never knew the opportunity existed. But Dr. V, how do I know when something is ready enough to launch? Here's the standard I use. If it is complete enough to deliver a genuine result to the person you're serving, it is ready to launch. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be real. It needs to be honest. It needs to solve the problem. That's the bar. And here's the clarifying question. Does waiting make it better, or does it just make me feel safer? If the honest answer is it makes me feel safer, then you're paying the perfectionism tax. Launch it. Now, the first rep is the concept, but here's where most nurses get stuck. They understand the concept and still don't move because there is a specific internal sequence that has to be interrupted. That's exactly what the speed framework gives you. 5 moves. Let me walk you through them. Move 1 is set a 48-hour window, and this move exists specifically to destroy the thinking trap. The thinking trap is what happens when you are working on something with no deadline. You have a business idea, great. When does it launch? Soon. You're building an offer, wonderful. When does it go live? I'm still refining it. You've been writing that email sequence, excellent. When is it sent? When it's ready. Y'all, when it's ready is not a deadline. When it's ready is a thinking trap with no exit. Here's the painful truth about the thinking trap. The longer you are in it, the more convinced you become that you are making progress. You feel productive. You are working on things. You are building the foundation, but you are not in the market. And a business that is not in the market is not a business. It's a hobby with an overhead. The 48-hour window is the intervention. Here's how it works. Every business decision, every new offer, every new piece of content, every new outreach strategy gets assigned a 48-hour window for minimum first execution, not the final version, not the perfect version, the first version. You want to launch a new offer? In 48 hours, you post about it, price it, and tell 3 specific people it exists. Not build the full curriculum, not design the slide deck, not research what everybody else is charging. Tell 3 people it exists and give them a way to say yes in 48 hours. You want to start a podcast? In 48 hours, you record the first episode on your phone or whatever microphone you have, and you post it. Not perfectly edited with a professionally designed cover art. Post it 48 hours. You want to pitch a corporate client? In 48 hours, you send the email. Now, after you've rewritten it 15 times, after you've written it once, read it once, send it. But Dr. V, 48 hours is not enough time to do it right. And I want to ask you one question. How long have you been doing it right in your head? And how many clients have you enrolled while you were doing it right in your head? Because doing it right in your head has a 0% close rate. I'm telling you this with all my heart. The launch window is not arbitrary. 48 hours is specifically short enough to prevent the thinking trap from reestablishing itself, and long enough to actually produce something. Less than 24 hours and most nurses feel rushed in a way that produces low quality. More than 72 hours and the thinking trap creeps back in. 48 hours is the sweet spot every time. Let me give you some real examples of what 48-hour execution looks like in practice. A nurse consultant who has been working on her signature offer for 4 months. When she committed to the 48-hour window, she packaged the first version of her offer, priced it, and sent it to her email list. 3 people responded. 1 enrolled. That was more traction in 48 hours than in 4 months prior. A nurse coach who wanted to start creating content, she committed to the 48-hour window and posted her first 3 TikTok videos. Move 2 is package the minimum. And this is the move that nurses resist most because nurses are trained to be comprehensive, thorough, complete, and comprehensive in a business launch context is the enemy of action. Here's what package the minimum means. Identify the smallest version of your offer that still delivers a genuine, specific result to your ideal client and lead with that version. Instead of building the full 12-week program, build the 2-hour intensive. Instead of creating the entire online course with 20 modules and a workbook and a resource library, run the content first live as a single workshop. Instead of building the comprehensive consulting proposal with 48 pages of methodology, sell a 90-minute strategy session. The minimum version of your offer is not the lesser version, it's the proof of concept. But Dr. V, won't clients think that the minimum version is less valuable? Won't they want the full thing? Here's the deal. Clients don't want a program. Clients want results. And if your minimum version delivers a specific meaningful result, that minimum version is worth paying for. The question to ask about any offer is not, is this complete? The question to ask, does this solve a real problem for a real person? If yes, that's your minimum. Launch it. Here's the embedded truth about packaging the minimum. The market will build the rest of the program with you. The clients who pay you for the minimum version will tell you exactly what they needed next. The question they ask, the gaps they identify, the problems that surface after they've completed your minimum offer. That is your curriculum for the full program, built on real data, paid for by real clients, not imagined in your planning. I had a client, a sharp nurse with years of clinical and leadership experience, multiple certification, who had been building a comprehensive nurse consulting training for almost a year. Full curriculum, beautifully designed slides, workbook. She had not made a single dollar from it because it was never done enough to launch. I told her, stop. Take the most valuable single module, just one, and sell it as a 2-hour intensive for a real price. She did. She enrolled multiple clients in the first 2 weeks. And here's what mattered most. Those clients told her exactly what they needed next. She built the rest of the program based on what paying clients asked for, not what she imagined they needed, what they actually asked for. Actually, I want you to notice what happened there. The client co-created the full program. The clients funded the development of the full program through their enrollment in the minimum version. That's not cutting corners. That is intelligent, market-focused, validated product development. Package the minimum gives you something to sell, but Move E is the one that most nurses understand intellectually and still never make in real life because it requires doing the thing that feels most uncomfortable. And I want to prepare you for it because it's coming. Move 3 is execute before you're ready. And this is the move that separates the nurses who are building from the nurses who are planning. Here's what execute before you're ready means at a practical level. The moment you have a clear 48-hour window and a package minimum, you move. You don't wait to feel confident. You don't wait for the website to go live. You don't wait until you practice the pitch 30 times. You don't wait until you feel ready. You move now. Dr. V, that title makes me anxious. Good. That means you needed this move most. Velocity decision, the intentional commitment to move a business action before the inner critic has time to build a case against it. I call it the velocity decision. A velocity decision is not impulsive, it is intentional. You have thought about the offer, you know your audience, you know the problem you solve, and you commit to move before the voice in your head starts building a list of reasons why you're not ready. Let me describe that inner critic voice for those of you who know it well. It says things like this: but what if someone asks a question you can't answer? But what if nobody buys it? But what if it's not as good as somebody else's offer? But what if people judge you? But what if you fail publicly? Actually, what if none of those things are as catastrophic as the inner critic is making them out to be? What if someone asks a question you can't answer and you say, great question, let me research that and get back to you? And then you do, and your authority actually increases because you followed through. What if nobody buys the first launch and you learn exactly why? Adjust one thing and the second launch converts. What if the thing you built isn't perfect and it helps somebody anyway? You will never feel ready. I need you to hear that. Readiness is not a precondition for execution. Readiness is a result of execution. You get ready by doing the thing, not by preparing to do the thing. The preparation ends at the point of diminishing returns. And for most nurse entrepreneurs, that point arrived months ago. Here's how I want you to think about it. Execute before you're ready. Think about the first time you worked a code, the first time you had a patient's airway closed and you had to act right now with the team that was there, with the equipment that was available. You did not have the luxury of feeling ready. You had training, you had a protocol, and you executed, and you got better at it by doing it. Your business is not a code. The stakes are not somebody else's life, but the principle is the same. Training plus protocol plus execution in real conditions with real feedback, that is how competence is built in nursing and in business. Execute before you're ready gets you moving. But here's the thing about movement. Without move E2, it doesn't compound. It just repeats. And there is a specific trap that nurses fall right into after the first execution that can reset everything they just built. Let me show you what it is. Move 4 is evaluate and adjust. And this is where nurses fall into a new different trap, because once they've executed, once they've gotten real world feedback, a lot of nurses use that feedback as confirmation that they weren't ready. That is the thing that didn't work because they weren't prepared enough, and they go back into planning mode. Actually, what you're doing in move 4 is not going back to the start. You are upgrading while you are moving. You are making a micro adjustment and continuing forward, like a pilot who adjusts course mid-flight, not a pilot who lands the plane every time the wind shifts. Here's the evaluate and adjust process. After your first execution, your first post, your first offer launch, your first discovery call, your first proposal, ask yourself these 3 questions and write these down. Question 1, what worked? What did you say, post, offer, or do that generated the response you wanted? Identify it specifically and make sure you do it again. Question 2, what didn't work? What fell flat? What got no response? What confused people? Identify it specifically. Question 3, what is the one thing I can change before I do this again? One thing, not a full overhaul, not a complete redesign, not back to the drawing board. One thing, because when you make one change at a time, you can isolate what actually made the difference. When you change 10 things at once, you don't know what moved the needle. But Dr. V, what if I get negative feedback? What if nobody buys? What if the first version doesn't work? Then you have something priceless. You have data, real data from the market, not imagined data from planning session, real feedback from real people in real time. A post that got no engagement tells you something about the hook. A discovery call that did not close tells you something about the gap statement or your authority close. A launch that generated curiosity but no enrollment tells you something about your positioning or your proof. All of that information is gold, but only if you evaluate it honestly and adjust specifically rather than spiraling into, I guess I'm not ready. Evaluate and adjust keeps you learning, but move D is what keeps you building, because momentum doesn't sustain itself, it has to be fed, and this final move is exactly how you feed it. Move 5 is deploy again faster. And this is the move where the speed framework compounds. Here's what deploy again faster means. After your first execution and you evaluate and adjust, your second execution happens faster than your first. Not the same speed, faster. And the third happens faster than the second. And the fourth happens faster than the third. This is how you build the identity of a nurse who moves. Not through one dramatic lead, through consistent compounding reps, where each one is slightly faster and slightly better than the one before. Here's the embedded truth about deploy again faster. Speed is a skill. Like any skill, it is built through deliberate practice. The first time you execute it under the 48-hour window, it probably felt uncomfortable. The second time, less so. By the 5th time, it starts to feel natural. By the 10th time, it starts to feel like your default. And when moving faster becomes your default, when the first rep becomes the flex instead of the struggle, slow money disease is in remission. The truth is, the nurses who are generating consistent income in this community did not start out fast. They started out scared, slow, and uncertain, just like everyone else. But they made the decision to move anyway, and they kept moving. And the moving built the momentum, and the momentum built the business. Deploy again faster is not permission to be careless, it is permission to be confident. There is a difference. You earn the confidence by executing. Now use it. This is a client story. She didn't need another certification. She needed clarity on how to sell what she already had. She came to me with everything most people think they need: a beautiful website, professional branding, offers listed, and full confidence in her expertise. But behind the scene, nothing was moving. No consistent clients, just a lot of almost. When we look closer, the problem wasn't her skill set, knowledge, or effort. It was her packaging. She was offering too much without a clear, powerful message that spoke directly to one ideal client and one specific problem. So we simplified everything, refined her offer, got crystal clear on who she serves, and positioned her solution in a way that made it easier for someone to say yes. And most importantly, we moved with speed. No overthinking, no waiting for perfection, just execution. Within 2 weeks, she signed a client. Same expertise, same business, but different positioning, different communication, and different result. That's the difference between having a business and getting paid in your business. It's not about doing more, it's about saying the right thing to the right person at the right time. But here's what I want you to hear most about this story. She did not suddenly become more credible in those 14 days. She did not suddenly become more qualified. She made a velocity decision and executed before she felt ready. And the market validated what 2 years of planning had been unable to confirm, that her expertise had real value and real buyers existed. Slow money disease had cost her 2 years. One 48-hour window changed everything. The SPEED framework: 5 moves that transform nurses from over-preparers to high-output earners. S, set a 48-hour window, because open-ended planning is where business goes to die. Every decision gets a launch window. Every task gets a deadline. P, package the minimum, because the market will build the rest of the program with you if you let them in. Strip your offer down to the one deliverable that solves one real problem. E, execute. Execute before you're ready. Make the velocity decision. Move before the inner critic builds the brief. Readiness is a result of execution, not a prerequisite. E, evaluate and adjust. Ask 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? One thing to change. Then move again. D, deploy again faster. Build the identity of someone who moves. Each reps faster than the last. Momentum compounds. Here's what I need you to do starting now. Action step 1. Do the 48-hour audit on everything on your business on your to-do list right now. Write it all down. Then ask of each item, has this been here longer than 48 hours without forward movement? Assign a launch window to everything that has. Delete what doesn't deserve one. Step number 2. Identify one offer, one piece of content, or one outreach action you have been working on for more than 30 days. Strip it down to its minimum. What's the smallest version of this that still delivers a real result? Write that down. That's your 48-hour target. Step number 3, set a specific execution time. Not tomorrow, a specific time on a specific day in the next 48 hours when you will execute the minimum version. Put it in your calendar right now. Block the time. Treat it like a patient appointment. Action step number 4, after you execute, and you are going to execute, run the evaluate and adjust. What worked? What didn't? One thing to change. Write it down. Then schedule the next execution within 72 hours of the first. Action step 5, comment below what you are launching in the next 48 hours. Public declaration creates accountability, and accountability creates follow through. I want to see your declarations. Let me close with this. In healthcare, we don't wait until we feel ready. When a patient calls, you don't consult your notes first. You run the protocol. You move. You adjust as you go. You don't freeze because the situation isn't perfectly set up. Your business deserves the same urgency. Your clients, the nurses who are waiting for what you have to teach, the organizations that need what you have to offer, they cannot wait another year for you to feel ready. Slow money disease ends today, not because you're suddenly more qualified, not because you finally have everything in place, because you have made the velocity decision to move. Execute the first rep, evaluate and deploy again. Drop a comment and tell me what is the one thing that you have been working on for more than 30 days that you are committing to execute in the next 48 hours. Say it out loud in the comments right now. And if you are ready to move with a community of nurses around you to build with structure, accountability, and real strategy, comment the word SPEED and we will send you over the details to our next live training. Comment SPEED. I'm Dr. V. Now go move.